Welcome back to another episode of Bass with Captain Lou. In today's episode, I'm going to give you guys a thorough walkthrough on how to convert a deep freezer into a live bait tank. That's right, that tank behind me, it was a pretty cool project, and I just wanted to share with you guys what I did and why I did it. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a three-part video. In the first part of the video, what I'm going to cover is the actual how I built it, the steps I took to build it. The second part of the video is going to be why did I decided to go a deep freezer route. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys the total cost of this particular build. So that way, if you guys decide to go this route, you guys are going to know exactly the cost more or less that are associated with a build like this. So let me go ahead and explain how this actual system works in detail to give you guys a much better idea of this style of filtration system. But in order for me to do that, I got to start from the beginning. As you guys can see here, you're probably hearing the pump working already. So what happens is you have a pump that's down there. The pump is actually drawing in water, and it's going to come up that 3/4 inch pipe. It's going to come up the pipe. It's going to go over here, and it's going to go down into a T-bar that I'm going to show you guys in a moment. The tank is actually right now filling with water. It's actually filling. I don't know if you guys could hear it. And then once the water reaches this level, it's going to go ahead and empty out and then come back down all the way down through this spray bar, and through gravity it's going to go ahead and start spewing water. And if you give it a second, it's going to go ahead and turn on right about now, as you guys could see, and that's how it's gravity fed. So as you guys can see here, I bought myself a Hot Point deep freezer. This is a 7 cubic foot deep freezer, which basically equates to about 50 gallons. And right now I have the tank filled to about 35 gallons. I usually keep it anywhere between 35 to 40 gallons. I do not fill it up there. I do not recommend you guys do that. And as you guys can see here, there's a blue line, there's blue trim lines in the bottom of this tank. And what that basically means is I just took silicone, and what you have to do is you got to silicone every seam of the tank. And as you guys could see, I siliconed every single seam of this tank, especially the drain down there. You need to really silicone that pretty well, and the reason for it is because you do not want to have water intrusion in this tank. Now the reason why this is blue is because, as you guys can see here, I used clear silicone, but because I use an additive, as you guys can see, the water has a greenish to bluish tinge to it. Because I use an additive, the additive went ahead and changed the color of the silicone to blue, and that's why this looks like this. All right, so when you're complete with the silicone work and you're completely done sealing the deep freezer, you need to take about 24 hours for this to cure. So while this is happening and this is curing, I went ahead and took advantage of the time and constructed a new lid. I went ahead and removed the original lid, and I constructed a new lid out of 3/4 inch plywood. As you guys can see here, I used 3/4 inch plywood for my new lid, and as you guys can see, it's a 2-part lid. This is the actual movable part, and this is the actual fixed part. And the reason why this is fixed is because of the filtration system and my plumbing system that's in place. I need to have this fixed. Another step that I took was I wanted to take advantage of the door's hinge system. And as you guys can see here, this is the hinge system of the freezer. I went ahead and removed the screws. I needed to put this piece of wood in there in order to utilize the hinge system. And what I like is that it keeps everything nice and neat. And something that I want to explain in regards to this piece of wood is, notice that I screwed all of these parts into the actual movable part of the lid, which is this part right here. You do not want to put screws here, because if you do that, you won't be able to move the lid because you have fastened it to the fixed portion. So you do your screws only up until the part that's actually going to be moving. And that's what I did. And I also took advantage of the time and went ahead and put my handle as well. Another thing you're going to notice on the under part of this lid is that I utilized an insulation system. This is actual board. It's very, this is a thick insulation board. It's not the neatest of work, but it's the best that I could do at that time. And what I did was I cut it to the inside dimensions of the tank. I also put the insulation board here, and I also put the insulation board on the fixed portion, as you guys could see here. Okay, so once you're done building your actual lid, now we're going to start coming over here and start working on the filtration and plumbing system. And as you guys could see here, these are the examples of the type of piping I used. I used PVC piping. I used 3/4 inch pipe for my intake, and I used 1 1/4 inch pipe for my outflow. As you guys could see here on the base, I had to drill 3 holes, okay? And I had to use spades in order to be able to drill these holes, and I drilled a hole to accommodate the 1 1/4 PVC here, and then I drilled 2 holes actually, one that's here and one that's over here to accommodate the 3 1/4 inch piping that's over here. And right over here, the reason why I drilled this hole, as you guys can see, is for my electronics, my AirRaater, and my thermostat control comes out through here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk to you guys specifically in regards to the plumbing system and what I did. Okay, so as I mentioned, I used 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe for my outflow, and I utilized 3 1/4 inch PVC for my inflow. Now, in order for me to be able to attach this 1 1/4 inch pipe into the actual filter system, I needed to use a Uni Seal. And a Uni Seal is this right here. This guy right here is one of the best things I've ever come across. However, there's a caveat to this, and I'm going to go ahead and explain to you guys in a moment on how to attach this properly. But the way it is once you drill the hole, because as you guys can see, you also need to drill a hole inside your filtration system to put this pipe through. You need to be able to have a seal in order for this to go in, but as you guys can see, you don't want your water to leak out. And as you look closely, there is zero leakage of water by utilizing this system right here. You guys can look closely, a little bit more closely right over here, and you see how it's nice and clean of an install there. But what I want to teach you guys is, in order for this to work, you need to take very important steps, and that's why you're seeing this olive oil and this sandpaper. And I'm going to explain to you guys a very important tip that I need you guys to follow. Okay, for this next step, I wanted to take my time and thoroughly explain the importance of the steps that I'm about to cover with you guys if you guys choose to use a Uni Seal type of a system with your filter type of system. And the reason why this is important is because, believe it or not, I almost scrapped the project because of this. Although theoretically this is a simple concept, which basically means you take your PVC and you drive it inside into the seal inside to your filter system. In theory, it's very easy, but in reality, this could be very challenging if you don't do the steps that I'm about to cover with you guys. So the first thing you got to do if you choose to use a Uni Seal is, after you drill the hole in the filter, you got to go ahead and place the Uni Seal in first. Okay, that's the first step. You do not want to skip that step because it won't work if you don't do it properly. So you go ahead and you stick it in there first, just like so. You press it in and it snaps in place. Okay, so once you do that, the rest, believe it or not, is easy, but you got to follow these steps. So you take the PVC that you're going to go ahead and insert inside the Uni Seal. What you got to do is you got to carefully sand the outside circumference of the pipe that you're going to use. Sand it thoroughly. You're going to sand it all the way around, especially the leading edge. You want to go ahead and sand that down really good. I took it a step further, and I actually used a corner sander or a sander, and I really sanded it down so this became extra smooth. The next step that you're going to do after that is you're going to go ahead and utilize the olive oil, and you're just going to go ahead and moisten your thumb, and you're going to go ahead and place the olive oil all the way around the outside ridge of this PVC pipe. You're also going to take some olive oil, and you're going to go ahead and do it and place it all the way around the inside portion of the Uni Seal, all the way around as well, like this. Once you do that, you're going to go ahead and take that PVC, and you're going to go ahead and drive it inside that Uni Seal, turn and press with a little bit of effort, and you're going to find that this is going to slide inside this Uni Seal so easily. It took me a while to come across this, but if you follow those steps, it's going to make your life a lot easier. Trust me on this. Okay, so once you got your Uni Seal in place, I'm going to go ahead and start talking in regards to the fittings that you're going to need to use in order to make your plumbing system successful. I'm going to start from the pump and then work my way up with every single fitting that I use. What you got to keep in mind is, below down there in the pump itself, there's a 3/4 inch fitting that attaches from the pump to my PVC pipe. You use that via pressure. As you follow the pipe up, you're going to come to your first fitting, and the first fitting that I used is a 90-degree angle or a 90-degree elbow. Again, this is for a 3/4 inch pipe. So this is my first 90-degree elbow. You're going to have a short tube here that you need to attach, and then you're going to have your second 90-degree elbow that goes right about here, and then you're going to have your pipe that goes inside the filter system. Once it goes through there, what you're going to need to do is you need yourself a T-fitting, as you guys could see here, a 3/4 inch T-fitting for your spray bar, and you're going to need 2 end caps, one end cap for this side and then one end cap for the end over there. Now I'm going to start talking about the 1 1/4 inch fittings that you're going to use, but I'm going to start from inside the tank. So right here is your spray bar. As you guys could see here, you need 1 end cap for the spray bar, and then you're going to have over here, you're going to need your first 90-degree elbow for the 1/4 inch PVC pipe as it comes up over like so, and then you're going to need your second 90-degree elbow that leads into the filter, and then as you guys could see here, the PVC comes out into your third elbow that goes right about there, and then it goes, a pipe goes all the way through down to the bottom of the tank. Now, something to keep in mind, this portion going back to the 3/4 inch piping, this T right here, okay, that attaches to this elbow, do not, and I repeat, do not glue this portion of the T-bar. You do not want to glue this. Reason for it is because this needs to be removed. That whole T system has to be removed when you need to clean your filters or replace the filters. This T has to be removed in order for you to be able to remove this lid. Now later in the video, I'm going to go ahead and explain to you guys why I have this insulation piping, this insulation cover over the PVC. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and start talking to you guys about the actual filtration system and what it's composed of, and what's the purpose of this system. So I decided to go with a canister or a drum type of system. In this case, this is a 6-gallon Rubbermaid. As you guys can see here, it's a Brute Rubbermaid. It's very, very thick plastic. It's 6 gallons. Disregard this right here, as I know some of you are going to be asking questions in regard to this. This was an idea that I decided to go with, and it didn't work out for me. So I disregard this right here. This has 0 purpose. But this is the filtration system. So as I mentioned, the water is going to come up, and then it's going to come down into a spray bar. I wanted to go ahead and light up for you guys so you guys could see what I got working with right here. So that's the actual spray bar of my filtration system. Notice that I have 2 jets on either side of the actual spray bar, and the reason for that is because I just wanted to have uniform coverage, or water uniformly spread out throughout the filtration system. And as you guys can see here, that's my first layer of filtration. There's actually 3 layers of filtration here, and I'm going to go ahead and start to explain to you guys what that is. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys as best that I can what I got working with here. And it consists of 3 layers. You got your coarse layer, okay? Then you have your medium layer, which is this filtration system here. That's the soft layer. And if you look way to the end down there, you have my sponge layer. And what that consists of, it's about 40 of these sponges right here, of these soft sponges. And the reason why it's consisting of sponges is because there is good bacteria growing on the bottom of this tank in order to keep this particular part of the tank very healthy. Okay, so once you have everything built and you got your filtration system built and everything else, it is time for the water test. You just want to fill the tank enough to cover the pump. You don't need to fill the tank all the way up to your desired level yet. You just want to do a water test. Once you do the water test, as you guys know, the water is going to come up. I'm going to tell you right off the bat that anywhere there's a joint, that's where the leakage is going to happen. So you're going to get leakage around this joint, you're going to get leakage around this joint, you're going to get leakage around this joint, and then the joint that's inside the actual tank itself. But just keep in mind, anywhere there's a T-bar, so if there's a spray bar right over here, you do not glue this one, and you do not glue the T-bar down here, because this needs to move. So you don't glue the joint down there. Everywhere else, you go ahead and use PVC cement to go ahead and seal up all those leaks. Okay, so what I'm gonna start talking about now is the actual componentry of the tank itself. I'm gonna go into a little bit of detail of the water pump that I used. I'm also gonna go into detail about the Inkbird, which that's the critical piece of equipment that regulates the temperature of the actual tank itself. And then I also, as you guys saw, I also have a light bar that I'll go ahead and talk to you guys about it in a little bit. Okay, so here's the pump I decided to use. This system right here by this company right over here, J-Code. Okay, it's a 2500 pump. Okay, very simple pump, very quiet pump. And as far as the lights that I used, I'll show you guys one more time. I got this light system, or this light bar, that I have right over here. And the way this works is you go ahead and press right over here, turn it on. This little function over here is, it simulates daytime. These are the different colors of the lights. You can make it darker, lighter, whatever you want. These are the different colors. So it's pretty cool, especially at night. It lights up the area pretty nice, and the fish seem to like it when I have them in there. Now, the most important thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about, or the most important component that I'm going to talk to you guys, is this Inkbird. Without this, your deep freezer system will not work effectively. What you're going to have is you're going to have a solid block of ice if you don't have this. And this Inkbird, okay, is a temperature regulator. And the reason why I wrote this here is because you need to get this model. It's the ITC 308. If you do not get this model, you're not going to be able to run this deep freezer effectively, because they do have different types of model. So you have to get this model, okay? And the way this works, it's very, very simple. Down here, you're going to notice this right here, where my middle finger is. This is the temperature probe. This right here is what regulates the water temperature of this entire tank. And the way this works, I'm going to show you right now. So in order to see this, you got to come around and look at it. This is the piece of equipment right here that I have it fastened over here. And the reason why I have it over here is because I can monitor the temperature from my back door. I could look outside the window of my back door and see my temperature regulation. So right now, as you guys can see, I have it set at 70 degrees. Now, the reason why I have it set so warm is because it's actually cool, but since I don't have any fish in here right now, I want to keep the water temperature at this temperature so that algae does not form inside my tank. I don't want any algae formation whatsoever, so I keep the tank cool. But let's just say I was going to go ahead and buy my shiners and I wanted to change this temperature. I just go ahead and hold this button here, and now I'm able to change the temperature. And I usually keep the temperature at 62 degrees. So once I do that, I go ahead and press set, and now you're going to see the cooling light turn on. So what that basically means is now it's telling the deep freezer right now to start its cooling process, to put it at 62 degrees. And right now the water temperature is at 69.8. Now, the reason why I told you this model is so important is because of this feature right here. If you guys can notice, there's two outlets, okay? There's the cooling outlet, and then there's the heating outlet. You need to get this model because of this right here, this cooling outlet. You gotta connect your deep freezer, okay, all the way over here to this cooling outlet, and that is what allows this to control the deep freezer. And then as we come back over here, you're gonna notice the green light, and that means the deep freezer now has turned on and it's starting its chilling process. And like I said, I don't need to set this at a very high temperature in order for this to work. I currently have the setting on the deep freezer at 3.5. Once the freezer hits the 62 degree mark, this will shut off. Okay, so coming back, now that I showed you guys, I have my pump down there and I have my Inkbird probe down there. Those blue tubes, okay, that's my AirRaater system. All the way down there, as you guys can see, I have some air stones. There's actually two air stones. One's underneath the pump and then one is on the side of the pump. And the reason why I have those air stones is because on top of the fact that I'm oxygenating the water with this T-bar, I also have over here, as you guys could see, I also have this 110 air bubble system that's coming in down in my tank, and it aerates my tank further. So I'm gonna go ahead and hook it up for you guys so you guys could see how this system works. So I'm gonna take my bubbler and I'm gonna go like that. And now you guys could hear it, that it kicked on. And there you go. As you guys could see, I have additional aeration. It's just adding a lot more oxygen to the water. So when I go ahead and I get my shiners, I have this system up and running, and then I have my pump up and running. So this area right here, this water is super enriched with oxygen. So there you have it. That's my live bait tank. Again, I chose to go that system. I watched countless videos. And another thing I wanted to do is I wanted to take this moment and go ahead and thank the individuals that I consulted with, because I did consult with several people in regards to systems or similar systems that they have. And I appreciate all of you, and you guys know who you are. I'm not going to say your names over the on this video, but you guys know who you are. Thank you very much for taking the time and showing me and explaining to me how your guys' systems work. I thank you very much. So in the beginning of this video, I said it was going to be a two-part video. The first part was going to be the how I built it and the components I used to build my deep freezer. Now the next step that I'm going to cover with you guys is the why. Why did I choose to do the deep freezer conversion route versus other type of systems? Now the reason why I decided to do the deep freezer route, believe it or not, is because it is a much cheaper alternative or a much cheaper system to build than utilizing one of the commercialized systems. And let me go ahead and explain. The commercialized systems, the way they work is they use chiller systems. They're beautiful tanks, don't get me wrong. And some of the DIY tanks that you could utilize, or DIY projects that you could take, are also utilize chiller systems. And basically what a chiller system is that it goes ahead and brings in the water, it chills it for you, and then it spits it back out nice and cold. Now, in theory, it's very cool system. However, those systems are extremely expensive, and we're talking about just a regular chiller, a good chiller, not a cheap chiller. A good chiller is anywhere between $750 or higher. That is extremely expensive. And if you decide to buy a commercialized tank that already has a chiller built in and it's all pretty and all that good stuff, we're talking about upwards of $3,000 for just a regular tank. That is extremely expensive. Now, when I tell you guys how much I built this tank for, you guys are going to be shocked at how cheap it is, even though it is on the expensive side. I'm not going to lie to you. Everything you guys saw, okay, everything you guys saw in this video, as far as all the componentry, the plumbing and the lids and all that good stuff, all that came under $475 for me. Okay, so for $475, I went ahead and was able to go ahead and get myself a deep freezer and all the materials needed to go ahead and build this at-home, do-it-yourself deep freezer for live bait usage. And that's the main reason. All right, folks, that's all I got. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. As you guys can see, there are so many steps involved in building a tank like this. But like I mentioned, if I can do it, you can do it. Just take your time, be very patient. There are a lot of videos around that help you build tanks like this. So just take your time, do your research, and your project is going to come out fine. Like this video, share this video, better yet, subscribe. The community is growing. You want to learn how to fish transitional zones or don't know exactly what is it that I'm talking about, check out this video right here. You want to learn on why I made the decision to fish live bait, go ahead and check out this video right here. You guys want to go out and enjoy the Everglades with me and have a great time fishing the Everglades, go ahead and check out my website at bassitwithcaptainlou.com. Just go on over there, fill that contact form, we'll pick a date, and we'll have a great time fishing out in the Everglades. Until then, guys, have happy holidays, and I'll check you guys out later. Take care of yourselves.